So we come to North Korea. For many, the North Korean state is quite clearly one that is focused on internal security and the maintenance of public order in order to legitimate and sustain its regime. For many, the North Korean regime is considered to be a communist state one-man dictatorship. However, this misrepresents the unique nature of the DPRK polity. To begin with, it is important to note that North Korea considers itself a socialist regime based on the ideology of Juche, and any reference to communism was expunged when Kim Jong-il was elevated to supreme leader in 2009. Juche refers to the self-reliance of North Korea upon its own resources and also its total independence and self-determination in politics, economics, and defense. The concept first emerged in 1955 and indicated an open proclamation of the independence of the country from Soviet and Chinese political and cultural influence. Today, the idea of Juche postulates that North Korea has to follow its own special way, no matter what happens outside the country. The latter alludes to, above all, the collapse of the socialist system elsewhere in the world, and also international pressure on the DPRK. Maintaining Juche is critical in the North Korean perception of security and independence. Moreover, Article 11 of North Korea's constitution states that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea shall conduct all activities under the leadership of the Workers' Party. The bylaws of the Workers' Party further state that the Workers' Party takes the revolutionary thought of the great leader Kim Il-sung and the Juche ideology as the one and only leading guideline, making it clear that the Workers' Party absolute guideline is what Kim Il-sung instructed. Juche ideology further prescribes absolute loyalty to the Suryong, the leader, so Juche ideology itself can only be interpreted by the leader. Thus, whatever the leader says goes. The Juche ideology has many inner contradictions. First, the idea of self-reliance contradicts basic postulates of socialism, such as internationalism and proletarian solidarity. It is also the case that in economic terms, Juche has never been fully realized. Despite all the talk of a self-sustained economy, the DPRK's economy could never function without immense foreign support. The official North Korean discourse has failed to explain why the ideology of Juche, which by definition brings eternal prosperity to the lucky North Koreans, could not protect the country against mass starvation in the 1990s after the USSR and China had withdrawn their regular economic help. Another contradiction is that this stubborn self-sufficiency is not compatible with today's reality of the mass involvement of the North Korean population in illegal trade with China. Though Juche is officially proclaimed to be the beam for humanity by the ruling elite, North Korean discourse makes it quite clear that Juche is unique to Korea, an ideology that is also a way of life and critical to national identity, and which cannot be replicated by non-Korean countries. In this respect, the concept is close to the above-cited socialism of our style, that is, the style which nobody can imitate. It should be noted also that Juche ideology can also extend to South Koreans and Koreans living overseas, and that it is also considered essential for their security and happiness. According to North Korea, in South Korea, Juche is under constant attack by revolutionary and reactionary forces. The military first policy. The personalized rule of the Kim dynasty and its ruling elite of the Korean Workers' Party, now in its third generation of Kim Jong-un, bases its power in the military, the Korean People's Army. This is reflected in the military first policy, announced in 2003 by Kim Jong-il and formally replacing the working class as the vanguard of the DPRK revolution. The concept of the military first policy, or the military first epoch, legitimizes the dominant position of the army and the militarization of all spheres of North Korean life, and in the name of self-defense and independent foreign policy. The military first policy is seen as a security guarantor against the plots of imperialism, not only for the sake of North Korean national interests, but also for the sake of the whole of humanity, which North Korea considers has been left unprotected since the collapse of the Soviet Union. There are three core bodies of North Korea's internal security apparatus: the State Security Department, the Ministry of People's Security, and the Military Security Command. These security agencies rule over an all-pervasive system of coercion, control, surveillance, and punishment. The security agencies play a primary role in restricting the flow of information and ensuring strict ideological conformity through harsh surveillance and coercion. North Koreans must participate in self-criticism sessions or face punishment, even time in a political prison camp. First, the State Security Department is often referred to as the Ministry of State Security and carries out a wide range of counterintelligence and internal security functions normally associated with secret police. It is charged with searching out anti-state criminals, those accused of anti-government and dissident activities, economic crimes, and disloyalty to the political leadership. Political prisons are under its jurisdiction. It has counterintelligence responsibilities at home and abroad and runs overseas intelligence collection operations. It monitors political attitudes and maintains surveillance of those who have returned from other countries. Second, the Ministry of People's Security is responsible for internal security, social control, and basic police functions. It is one of the most powerful organizations in North Korea and controls an estimated 210,000 public security personnel. It maintains law and order, investigates common criminal cases, operates the prison system, monitors citizens' political attitudes, conducts background investigations, census and civil registrations, controls individual travel, controls the traffic, manages the government's classified documents, protects government and party officials, and patrols government buildings and some government and party construction activities. Third, the Military Security Command is the investigative unit of the armed forces. Not only does it provide an additional layer of surveillance in the Korean People's Army beyond what is provided by the General Political Bureau, it also contributes to the personal protection of the Supreme Leader. Its primary responsibilities are monitoring the loyalty of the High Command and ferreting out possible coup plots in the armed forces. As its responsibilities grew in the 1990s, the Security Command also took on some limited, non-military investigative missions at the provincial level. While this security apparatus may be reminiscent of other communist totalitarian regimes, there are components of the North Korean police state that are unique. At the most basic level, surveillance is the responsibility of each individual of the state. North Korea has instituted an elaborate neighborhood watch program called the Inminban system. Every North Korean citizen is required to belong to an Inminban, which monitors its members, provides ideological education, and serves as a conduit for various mobilization campaigns. The head of each neighborhood Inminban, consisting of 30 to 40 households, reports to the security agencies listed above on a regular basis. As is true in any authoritarian or totalitarian regime, maintaining internal security is a vital task since the leadership cannot count on popular legitimacy to remain in power. North Korea's internal security apparatus is highly effective in this role. It has limited the communication and social congregation that would be necessary to spawn civilian uprisings. Security activities have also prevented counter-regime groups from forming within the military and other branches of government, although periodic purges suggest that some dissent exists or is perceived by the regime. However, one weakness of the security apparatus is that it is fragmented. While this fragmentation prevents the emergence of a monolithic security force that could potentially threaten the regime, it makes coordination difficult. In addition, the various security organs watch each other and engage in competition despite their specific missions and boundaries. North Korea's security organs have chains of command in the party and government apparatus. These lines of control originated in Kim Jong-il's rise to power and his subsequent consolidation of power in the years after Kim Il-sung's death. During his time as heir apparent in the 1970s and 1980s as the director of the Korean Workers' Party Organization and Guidance Department, Kim Jong-il was able to issue orders and guidance to close aides within the State Security Department and the Ministry of Public Security. As a consequence, these two police agencies took the lead in guaranteeing his control over the government and remain powerful today. Kim Jong-un's relationship to the internal security organs remains to be seen. Defector reporting suggests that he has spent a great deal of time consolidating his own power, forging ties to key security leaders, and overseeing internal security policy. Arguably, North Korea's internal security apparatus surveys, investigates, and detains its own citizens for the ultimate objective of maintaining the regime. The apparatus relies on a massive multi-level system of informants to identify critics and potential troublemakers. Entire communities are routinely subjected to security checks. Even a person's absence from work can raise the interest of the security services. Possessing anti-state material and listening to foreign broadcasts are crimes that could result in harsh punishment, including many years of labor and re-education. In addition to this elaborate and pervasive surveillance system, the regime also subjects its citizens to a steady diet of criticism and social manipulation. In order to systematically control people's lives and to effectively implement party policies, the regime requires every member of society to participate in Changhua, self-criticism sessions with their neighbors and colleagues. These sessions are held once a week on average, serving to promulgate the latest edicts from on high and requiring individuals to confess their shortcomings and wrongdoings and criticize their neighbors. Everyone watches everyone else in order to have something to discuss in these sessions. No one knows whom to trust, even among friends, or who reports to whom. However, now the North Korean regime finds itself faced with many problems that threaten internal security. Not only is the country facing food shortages and continued sanctions, but Kim Jong-un's succession raises many questions about the regime's stability at the top. The information cordon that once surrounded the country has deteriorated, and information about the outside world filters in through cell phones, DVDs, and surreptitious radio and television monitoring. For 60 years, the internal security apparatus has ensured the survival of the Kim family dictatorship. Whether or not North Korea collapses, evolves, or continues to muddle through will depend a great deal on the viability of this all-pervasive apparatus. North Korea is influenced by the history as a colonized nation and are obsessed with the need to maintain public order for what the regime considers the greater good, that is, the survival of the Kim dynasty in order to ensure the survival of the North Korean people. The contest between two states and two regimes for one nation has led to a complex definition of what is internal security to South and North Korea. The contest between regimes for legitimacy over the peninsula further raises questions about what is the referent object for security here, the state or the regime. Moreover, the internal security apparatuses raise the question of what is the prevailing threat. Why should these regimes have such high concerns for public order and social cohesion, and to what end? Both states' ultimate objectives are reunification of the peninsula under their own governments. However, if this is the case, then domestic politicization of security and interference of many of its security agencies in public life raises concerns.